Rick Marshall. I am a cabining instructor at William Holland School of Lapidary Arts. This is my third year of instructing here. I have also been an instructor at Wild Acres several times, and will be next year, and will be an instructor here again next year. I would like to have you come join us and attend our classes. It is summer camp for adults. Okay, you'll really enjoy yourself. I try to make my classes as educational, informational, and entertainment, to keep you occupied and keep you interested. Cabochonning to me is the most amazing hobby I have ever attempted. To be able to take a rock and cut it into little slabs and then take that slab and make a beautiful cabochon out of it, something that people will admire, and something that can be used for jewelry, or it can be used just to sit on a shelf somewhere so that you can sit and admire it and say, hey, I did that. It's a lot of fun and very satisfying and very rewarding. It can also be very frustrating. That's why I have developed a system. I'm sorry, I did not develop that system, but I have put together a little demonstration of all the different steps that you will go through in order to take a stone and produce it, make it a beautiful cabochon that you can use. Okay, and then I always have this available for my students to look at as they go along. What is a cabochon? Well, just like I said, you take a rock, you cut slabs out of it, you look at this, you observe it. Sometimes I'll sit and hold one at night while I'm watching TV and trying to figure what's the most attractive, what part of this stone appeals to me the most. And I will take it and try to make something out of it that I think other people will like. Here is a piece of rock here that I have done. This is Bloody Basin Jasper is what this is. And we will take that, and I'll show you here in a few minutes how to cab it and turn it into a beautiful cabochon. Okay? I have been doing this for been coming to William Holland for 11 years. Took silver classes prior to that and started taking cabochon classes about 2017, I believe. I have had instruction from 3 different instructors up here, and every one of them taught me something unique and individual about what they do and things that I can incorporate into my style. Things you will be using templates in order to get a design. You don't have to use templates, but I recommend that we start out that way in the Cabs 1 class, and then I teach how to freeform. Like here's an agate that I took and did a freeform on it. To me, it just looked like maybe it looks like what a Alaskan or Eskimo would make into a bird, or something like a seal, something like that. Just the design. That's another thing I will teach you, as to how to take the stone and let it tell you what it wants to be. Okay. It's about that part. Okay. All right. The next, I guess, what we do, as I had said, I take this stone that I have slabbed. I will take this template and I figure out which side I want to be the front and which side I want to be the back. And I will take the template and I will lay it down and look at it in different angles and different positions of what I want to do. And then once I do that, I will take my marker or my pencil and I will draw my outline. And that is what I want to be the front of the stone. I start with the front. I want to get that designed. Then I will take a straight edge. Since I don't have one, I'll just use this template. They can be used for many different things. And I will draw cut lines where I say, okay, I'm going to go to a trim saw. We'll use a trim saw and we'll cut off the excess from the side of this. If you can see what I did. And always be sure you cut to the outside of the line so you don't have a chance of cutting into your design. All right. I also mark front and back, which I recommend you do. That way you don't run a chance of making a mistake. I'm going to go to the trim saw, I'll cut this out, and then I'll show you what we'll do with the rest of it.
I've come over to the trim saw. What I'm going to do, I have put water into the trim saw, and when you do, you just need to fill the water up just so it goes a little over the bottom of the blade. It doesn't have to be real deep. I will also take some Blue Dawn and just to add a little slickness to the water to help with the cut. I'll just drop one little drop of Blue Dawn in there. Back on. Be sure to pull down. Be sure to pull down this. All right. And then I will take my my slab that I'm going to cab off of. If you can see where I drew that line, and I'm going to cut to the outside of that line away from my design. Line it up. Push in slowly. Don't too far forward. But use that pressure on each side. That will help prevent cracking or breaking the stone. It helps you to do it. That's the only way to look. Just keep the pressure on. Don't bob the machine down. Don't bend the blade. Keep it going straight in. Cannot make curves with this saw. You have to cut it in a straight line. See, I'm still outside of my line, so that's the main thing. Okay. Next, we'll go over to the lapidary machine, cabbing machine. I have cut the stone, and you can see where it still says front here, where I cut it. The reason I wanted this to be the front, the reason I started off at the front of the stone is there's a focal point right here that I really like, and that's that little clear quartzy area that's across here, and I wanted that to be included in the stone, in the cab. This is a lot prettier side than what's going to be the back. But I always draw my design on the front first to do my lines to cut it down. That way I am then able to go to the back side, and I am more sure that the focal point that I wanted will still be in the area that I want it to be. I hope that makes sense. So I will take that, now I'll take my marker. I'll write B, because that is the back. From this point forward, or for a while anyway, from this point forward for a little while, the back is the most important part of the cabochon. The reason being is that's your foundation. Think of it that way. Think of it as being the foundation, like in a house. If you get everything just perfect on that foundation, your shape, your height, all that, then you pretty well know that the top is going to come together and it's all going to fit and all going to work and all going to match. So at this point now, the back to me is the most important part of the cabochon. Next step is to remove all of the material that is outside of my design. And to do that, I'm going to go to, I usually will start with a 220 grit wheel. These are like sandpaper. If you're into woodworking, you'll understand this concept a little bit better. You have different grits. You have 80 grit on the cabbing machine, 220 grit, 280 grit,
600, 1200, and 3000. That is your grit on each of the wheels. I will usually start on the 220 because if it's too soft of a stone, if I'm not familiar with stone, if it's too soft of a stone, I'm going to remove a whole lot of material real quick, and I run the danger of getting down into my design. So I'll start here. If it's not going fast enough, then I will move back to the 80. There are even some stones like chrysocolla and turquoise that I will actually start on the 280 grit. This is a steel wheel, this is a steel wheel, this is a rubber wheel. The rest of them are rubber wheels on the machines that we use here. So I will take, water is very important, motion is very important, and the wheels are very important. So I will put my spitter in here, and I will turn on my machine and get water spitting up onto the wheels. Make sure the wheels get good and wet. And what I want to do, again, is remove all the material that's outside of my design. So I'll go against the wheel, perpendicular. You see that muddy look, so that tells me I made the right decision. This is going to move the material pretty quick for me. I move one back and forth across the wheel. The reason being is to make my wheel last longer, and I don't create a groove where the diamond bits get wore off in one little area. You see how that's reducing that down and coming to that line. So move back and forth across the wheel. Keep checking your water, make sure your spitter's in the proper place. Put the water up on it. One thing I like about doing stones that are not perfectly round, perfectly square, perfect triangles, perfect ovals, is that if I see that the stone starts looking better by not going all the way down to the line of that line, I'm free to change it without any repercussion. So I'll work on all these sides and kind of look at it again. Keep it perpendicular because I want my walls of the cab to either be straight up and down or slope slightly towards the top of the stone from the bottom. That way if someone goes to set it into a silver setting, when they pinch the silver setting up, it actually comes in over the top or towards the top a little bit and helps hold that stone in place into the setting. One of them's going to be round or all of them will be round. I see people all the time dipping down in here into the reservoir, and they get what happens when you do that. You're going to pick up the grit off of this and put it back on the stone, and when it hits that wheel, it should cause more scratches. So if I need to clean it off, I always have a spray bottle handy. So, in my opinion, that will make it for a doggone good looking stone. I'm going to narrow it down just a little bit on the end. Now, that is the back. Like I said, up to this point, that is the most important part of the cabochon. So I have that ready now to draw. That's going to be the front, and I have that ready now to draw my bezel line on my girdle, and I'll show you how we do that. Okay, we have shaped the stone. I shaped it to the back. At this point, I'm going to draw what we call I call it a bezel line or a girdle. I call it a girdle. And basically what it is I am, if you can imagine a foundation being built for a house before they put the seal down on top of the foundation, that has to be perfectly level all the way around. And that's what you want for this, for a girdle, because that's where you're going to dome down to, or shape down to, so you can create a dome on your cabochon. Most girdles will be, it depends, wire wrappers want them different thicknesses than silver set. People who set them in silver, they want different thicknesses. So anywhere like from 1/4 to 1/3 of the way up. From the bottom, always put the bottom down and you mark your girdle line according to the bottom of the stone. Ways to do that. I take a marker, black marker. If I've got a black stone, I take a gold marker, Sharpie, and I will kind of draw just a little speck right there. And I'm about maybe a little more than 1/3 of the way up, maybe. So I'll just go ahead and continue with that. That's okay. So I will draw, and I hold my pen, I hold my Sharpie steady. If you notice, when I showed you this, I did not move that Sharpie. If I did, it was an error. I didn't mean to, because I'm not going to let my hand up so I can make a mistake. So I have my hand firm and flat, and I'm holding the Sharpie at that angle. And I'm just going to spin the cab, the future cab, around with the bottom down, and I should come back to the right, the same spot. Now you notice I picked it up and did it again. It's easier to pick this up, set it down, than it is pick this up and set it down in the right place. So if you'll look at that girdle line, that bezel line, it goes all the way around, and it's equal from the bottom to the line. If I need to make any adjustments, let's say I didn't like where I had that first one, it's very simple. That pin, or you can use a tongue depressor, you use a stack of popsicle sticks. If I want that girdle higher, all I had to do was slide this forward, and that raises the tip. If I wanted it lower, I just slide it back, and it'll be lower. So that's it. Next step, let me just hang that. We're going to go over, and I'm going to put it on the dot pot so that we can attach a dot stick to give us better control. And I'll show you how to do that. I've drawn my bezel line, and I'm prepared to put my dot stick on. Dot stick will help you to maintain better control of the cabochon as you're going against the wheel with it. Gives you a guide to work with. I like, for the stick that I use, I don't want a long one that's sticking out the back of my hand. I want to be able to have it in my hand so that if I do hit the water reservoir there, it doesn't make me move my cab in a way that's going to make a mistake in it, or a scratch, or a gouge in it. And I try to have it where it's close enough in my hand and I can hold it at the back. And that way I have more control over this. Imagine, you have a steering wheel in a car and you're driving. You have control of your steering wheel. Imagine trying to drive from the back seat with a long stick attached to the steering wheel. You just can't maintain control, and it's the same concept here. So I just like to get where I have control of that. What you do, you just take and you put this on the edge. This is a dot pot, and that dot pot is heated. This is wax. This is wax, is what this is. And it's a green wax, and it just makes it where it's an adhesive. So you take that wax, put it back side up, because that's where I'm going to attach. After I do this, now the front is the most important part, not the back any longer. I've got the foundation, I've got my bezel line, now I'm going to work on the front. So I have to attach this to the back. You put this on the dot pot, you've heated it up, the wax gets hot, you put your stick, your dot stick on the dot pot also. I want the wax, the stick, and the stone as equal temperature as they can be. That way one doesn't shock the other when you go to stick it together, and it sticks better. Okay, it'll last longer. I hope. Not always the case. So that's what we do here. Okay, so that's done. All right. I have my cabochon with the front up,
The dop stick is attached to the back, and very important, the dop stick, or the wax does not come over the side of the stone. That can affect your mind, just a little thing that could affect you thinking. It can also affect your your design. It can affect because you can't shape and you can't polish as well if you've got that wax up over the edge. So keep the wax off of the edge of the cabochon. Now, what I'm going to do is, you can see this cabochon is straight up and down basically. Now I'm going to go around this cabochon, and I'm going to take on a 45-degree angle on that wheel, on the 220 grip, and I'm going to create a third plane. I have one plane, I have a table on the top. If you notice, this is my demonstration. The first step is I still have the plane. I have created a plane here, and I still have the top. My girdle line is still there. I don't want to get down below my girdle line, my bezel line. Now, doing this is nothing but a step of just removing material. I don't want to dome by going across like this. I want to remove material at an angle, and then I'll remove material at another angle, and then I'll remove material at another angle until I have just a little ridge down the top here. At that point, I'm ready to dome. So this will take a few minutes. Make sure it's spitting, get the wheel wet. Now I go in at a 45-degree angle. I keep my eyes, if you notice, I'm not sitting straight directly in front of that wheel. I'm sitting off to the right a little bit. If you're left-handed, you work the other way, you want to sit to the left a little bit. By doing so, I can maintain my eyes contact with where this is touching the wheel in relationship to where that girdle line is. And I'm at like a 45 degrees, doesn't have to be exact, but just keep the same angle all the way around. You notice I'm not going back and forth, I'm just going around and around and around at the same angle. When you get to the points, if you'll notice, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but this is up this high, and then the point drops off like a hawk nose. Well, what you gotta do is when you get down to that point, you have to adjust your angle a little bit, come around, and go back in at that 45 on each one of those. So I'll just keep doing that. I'm keeping my eyes on the top of the stone, not the top, the top of the edge of the bezel, of the side. And I'm going around until I get down to, I don't want my bezel line to disappear, I just want to be just above it all the way. All right, you notice the side, the plane here that's at the 45-degree angle, and then my table at the top. I think you can see why I chose this one to be the top of the stone. It's beautiful. Now, so I've got it down to my girdle line, good, and every time I do this, this table at the top should still be maintaining the shape down here on the girdle. Now I'm going to adjust my angle from 45 down to whatever, 30, whatever it is, 33. I didn't do too good math. And I do the same thing. I just keep repeating the process. I go around and around and around, coming down to that girdle line. I am not bending. Notice I'm not doing this. To get it down there, I want a flat surface down there all the way through it. Other than that little, when I did that little excavation, you notice I'm not stopping the stone. I'm also not taking the stone off of the wheel. Either of those motions
doing that can help cause flat spots in your stone. And I don't want flat spots. Notice how much narrower that table is on the top. I hope you can see that on the ground. Again, adjust my angle. Start again. And keep doing this at this angle until I get down to this way. The regular one. Again on camera, but that table on the top is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. After the next pass, part of the F for the front will be gone. Just triangle a little bit more. These two wheels, the steel wheels, are designed to give me a general shape. When I get through on this wheel, all I'm trying to do is get it to that ridge as you go down the center of that table. I'll still have traction, I'll still have ridges, I'll still have bumps, high spots, and low spots. That's what these two wheels are designed to do. From the 280 grip, which is lacking into it on forward, that is where you will begin. Some people that are really positive about this. I believe you're actually starting right up here. And of course, the wheel here. By not creating too large distractions, you don't have to. When we start stone, that's why I do this. Now, look how much of that is gone. So what I've done, I've got to where I almost have my dome. I still have roughness, I still have a little scratches, but I am now ready to come. I've got my general shape, and I'm ready to come off of this wheel and go to the 280. This is a rubberized wheel. And as I go into this to get my shape and refine, I'm going to be removing the scratches that came from this wheel, and I'm going to be getting my dome now. You notice it's not much of a flat spot up there, and I'm now ready for the dome. The dome, I'm going to do just a little bit more of the same. Now you notice I'm doing a little bit different. I'm not keeping that sharp angle. I'm not thinking about keeping that in there. And I'm going over the top, but I'm still not getting down below that red line. And I use feel, I use touch, I use look to make sure that I'm getting the look that I want out of this stone. This stone, by the way, is called Bloody Basin, and it does a beautiful sound. You want to see one of the prettiest pieces I've ever done of this? On this year's instructors auction that the school has, I did a mushroom. I'm crazy about mushrooms. I love designing and making mushrooms out of stone. I did a mushroom, and Kim St. Jean took it and using the Alice in Wonderland theme, created a beautiful thing. And you can go online and look at that when it comes up.
that will be the auction date. I'm not sure what it is. I know it's sometime in December. Look at the website, the William Holland website, in order to find out what that date is. Okay. Again, notice I very seldom do I take that off the wheel because that will create flat spots. Check it. Always hold it up against a clear background in order to check your shape. Try it. I use my blue jeans. Every stone looks pretty wet. No such thing as no when they're wet. All right. I see scratches. I don't know if the camera can show it, but I still have scratches right in this area right here. I still have scratches across the top. So I'm not done with this wheel. I don't move from this 280 grit wheel until the scratches that were created by this wheel are gone. Yes, it will still have minor little scratches in it, but they're the ones that the 280 put in it. So the 600 will take those out. So, still got to work on it and get those scratches out. Most of my cabs are very low dome. I don't know why, it's just what I prefer. It's all by the motion. You cover the entire top, get every scratch from every angle you can hit it from. Keep in mind, you cannot remove a scratch from cabochon. Alright? A scratch is an area in that cabochon, same as in woodworking. A scratch is a low area that has been created in that cabochon. In order to remove the scratch, which you can't, you have to remove the material around the scratch to bring that material down to the same level as the scratch. I've seen people who will sit and work 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 into that flat spot like that, try to get that scratch. No, you work around it. You bring that material, bring that wheel over the material that's around that scratch, and that'll get it. I've seen people go from here, oh, they didn't get the scratch, maybe the 600 grit will get it. 600 grit ain't gonna get it. If this one don't get it, you don't leave this wheel until all those scratches are gone. Alright, look at it, inspect it. Okay, I got these scratches still appearing very likely down here. Still got some coming across the top right there. So I'm going to go across the top real hard. I'm going to give a little bit more pressure. I don't like to put a lot of pressure on the wheels. I like to let them work and do their job. Also, if you notice, I move around on the wheel. Don't just stay in one spot. Staying in one spot will create where it moves the diamond bit. You see some of these wheels have some bare spots on them. And by moving it around, you're actually going to extend the life of the cabin wheel. Again, you notice how I'm holding it up real close to the stone, so I've got better control on these wheels. Why is it so important to get those scratches out? You cannot polish those scratches. You're not getting the sand down into this. That's another thing. I I've had sandpaper, the grit effect of the wheel down into it. I've had people ask me, well, can I go too far and remove the polish? We use polish, maybe that's not the correct word. You're really not applying anything. All you got is the wheel, the stone, and the water. So you're not applying a polish. You're polishing by sanding. Okay, should be done. Okay. This stone does have pits in it, so you gotta be careful, make sure what you're looking at is not pits. Pits are just little tiny little indentations, just like a pinprick on it, okay? That's how it goes. Okay, so I've got my scratches out, I've got my shape, and I'm still above my girdle line all the way around. All the way around, I'm still above my girdle line. Now I'm going to work on the side. The girdle line, I'm going to remove the girdle line. And when I do that, then I know I'm getting down into where the cuts are from where I grounded on this wheel here. So I go in at that 90-degree angle, just perpendicular, and I work all over the wheel. I'm working around, circular motion, straight up and down. Keep that black line off of it. Be careful when you're using some soft materials. You really don't want to go with a Sharpie because it will soak in. And sometimes you just have to grind more off to get rid of that line or soak it in acetone. Sometimes I will use a scribe and just scratch over the girdle line in, or a pencil so the lid is easier to remove. And I'm working in circular motion so I can get those. A lot of the scratches are running this way in the side. So by using the circular motions, I'm getting a lot of surfaces, a lot of angles on those scratches. Now, I'm going to go this way, this way. And one thing I'm doing here, you notice I'm going to go over the top of the stone just a little bit. And I will soften up that girdle, that bezel that comes over the edge. Soften it up by doing this way, and that removes some of that material and makes that a little softer edge so it's not as sharp. Anytime you have a sharp edge, you're more apt to maybe possibly chip it if it hits against something. So I kind of soften that up a little bit. Alright? Right? Look at the sides. See what kind of scratches that. Use a rag. I use my blue jeans. Still have scratches. And they're identifiable by being little white marks, little white lines. I don't know if you can see that. The little white lines. That's your scratches that are still in that side. So I'm going to give a little bit more pressure. Remember, this is a rubberized wheel, so when I push in, it will kind of form around the stone, and that will help it to get those scratches out. Also, I'm making sure I'm not going in at a reverse angle. I want my again, remember what I said, my side to be either straight up or at a slight tilt towards the top from the bottom. One thing you have to do, and this came not from a cabin instructor, but my first silver instructor I ever had, and that was at the Maitland Art Center down in Florida. The first class, Jim Hosmer said, you have to set yourself a standard, and you have to decide what type of cabochon, or in his case it was silver, what type of silver work am I going to produce? Well, I just carried this over. I have set a standard that I will not go below. If I can't produce a stone that is up to my standard, it doesn't go for sale. And I'll keep working on it until I set it in a bin somewhere. And you just have to do that. Be proud of what you do. We work hard for what we do. And but like I said, it can be one of the most enjoyable things. It is. It's the most enjoyable hobby I've ever had. We'll do some other different motions. And I'll go over the edge again. I'll actually even too kind of work at this angle, the reverse angle, and just a little bit to make sure I get those scratches. Always take that out. There's different type of machines. This machine has spitters. Always take the spitters out when you turn it off so it doesn't draw the water back into the pump. Some machines have overhead spitters. You don't have to worry about that. It's a drip system that drops water down on the wheels. I can see better without my glasses than I can without an optivisor. Again, so I have a few little scratches right here. Even when I make my turns, I'm not bringing the cab off of the wheel. It just helps to keep a more even finish. And there's no way I can miss a part of the wheel or miss a part of the stone. Avoid coming around that corner and hitting the edge. That can scratch, it can gouge. I used to listen to music when I'm doing this, and depending on what song's on, Freebird gets to going, I might start off like this, but by the end of it, maybe I'm just a cranker, okay? So. Probably the first time I've done some in years that I don't have music going. My students will tell you that. All right. I'm just going to assume that's done. Take that out again. Yes, we're good. I have no scratches over here on this cab that this machine did not put on it. Every scratch from there is gone. So now I come over to my 600 grit, and I'm going to continue the polishing process. 600 grit, again, a rubberized wheel. I'm going to get this. Some people will say this is where you start polishing. I disagree. You start polishing back over here by getting all of the scratches out that the previous wheel put in. Lots of motion, keep it moving. Until the water's on it, getting all over the wheel. I get so engrossed in doing this, I get out in my shop at the house. I've got a well-equipped shop. I have 2 cabin machines, 14-inch saw, 10-inch saw, 6-inch saw, bucking wheels, a couple of flat laps, a couple of drill presses. And I get out there in the morning, and all of a sudden my wife Vivian calls me and says, "It's lunchtime." I said, "Huh?" So I come in and eat lunch, and then I'll go back out and work, and all of a sudden she calls me, "All right, dinner time." I said, "No, I can't do yet. I gotta come in." Kind of like a kid when you're growing up, your mama calling you to the house. It's so, to me, so relaxing. You can see the red and the gold coming up in this. Alright, and the white getting a little bit better. Now, it's wet. That's why it looks so good. Let's dry it. Like I said, every stone looks pretty wet. Alright, see a little bit of dullness. Well, we're going to take care of that dullness as we continue over here. Let me go right here. I hope that shows you the difference of why it looks good wet. I'm going to go to 1200. My rule of thumb is when you think you're done on a wheel, work on it just a little bit longer and then go to the next one. I think I'm done, I'll work on it just a little bit longer. Notice I'm getting all over the edge, I'm getting to the top, I'm getting to the side. Now there's a few other parts to this, but I'm not going to tell them to you on this demonstration. I want you to come take my class. And not just my class, anybody's classes up here. I encourage my students to take other Cab 1 classes if they've taken Cab 1 classes. I also teach a 1.5 class. I can't call it a 2, I call it a 1.5 because we're going to take some things that you ain't never thought about cabinets and turn cabs in. We're going to have live juices, live edges, man-made material, coral, kyanite, all that type of thing that we work with in the 1.5 class. And really, it's no rules. We just be creative, use your imagination. It's a class where I really don't even want you to use the templates. I want you to take a stone, I may hand you a rock and say, okay, we're going to go over here to this saw, we're going to cut this rock and let's see what we can find in it that we want to make a cabochon out of. It's a creative, fun week. Give it more pressure. These wheels, you can give a good bit of pressure. The more pressure you give, the better the look, the better the shine. You can go on up, I mean, as high as you want. Like, these wheels go up to 3,000 grip. I'm on 1,200. On another machine over here, we have wheels that go 8,000, 14,000, and 50,000. There's also pads that you can buy that stick on the end of most machines that you can buy, and you can use a diamond spray or you can use a paste of some type. I prefer a diamond spray because like on some stones where they've got some little pits in them, like I told you this one has, if I'm using a paste that's got a color to it, oxide, chrome oxide, any number of some of those things, I get that little in there and I create more work that I got to get the paste out of those pits. I also do a lot of drusies and I don't want that paste getting down in those drusies. So I use a diamond spray on the pads to get to my higher grips, my higher polishing. See the polish coming out? The shine coming out? Looking better. Let's go here. I did see some scratches there. So I apologize for that. Let's continue on here. Now I'm going to the 3,000. Somebody asked me in a blocking method, well, how long does it take to make a cabochon? Who cares? Who knows? Yeah, depends on the stone, how hard, how soft, how fitted, how cracked. It depends on the equipment, what kind of shape is it in. Depends on your attitude that day. How you feeling? If you ain't feeling good, then you need to do it longer anyway. Don't worry about how long it's going to take, just relax. Always try to sit your feet flat on the floor and get comfortable. For me, this is the right arm swing. Some people like sit up on it just like this. And I get all scrunched up and get tense. Just relax. Sit back and enjoy it. As I said, beyond this wheel, we can go over and redo this, I'm sorry, 8,000, 1450. I think you're going to see here, this is 3,000, what this stone's going to look like and what the potential might be. Some of you might even say, I don't think I can get any shinier. I'm taking a class. So, voila, and that's dry. Really shiny. And it will get better. Hope that answers some of your questions. I hope that intrigues you to come take some classes at William Holland and just enjoy a week with us. Thank you.